Did you ever hear about the State of the Cloud report from Flexera? If not, I'm gonna put a link in the description so you can go check it out. Today I'm gonna do something new. I'm gonna go through it and tell you a little bit what surprised me and what didn't come as a surprise. And I would like to hear from you where you agree, disagree, or what was a surprise to you, and leave that in the comments. So if you've never read it, pause it here, go download it, go quickly through, or if not, just follow my walkthrough. I hope you enjoy it. So let me quickly scroll down to the summary. There's a few things that we need to highlight. Most importantly is like how Flexera, or in this survey, the companies are clustered. So you have a differentiation between enterprise, which is larger than 8,000 employees, and then you have SMBs, which are less than 1,000 employees. And when the report refers to organizations, they mean both the combination of enterprise and SMBs. With that said, let's go to the highlights. In the highlights, they say 93% of an enterprise have a multi-cloud strategy and 87% have a hybrid cloud strategy, which is almost a match. I think that doesn't come as a surprise. The surprise, if any, will be the 93% who say they have a multi-cloud strategy. I call it more like a multi-cloud reality. The number of companies I'm aware of that have a clear strategy and actually try to leverage the strength, and we will see over time if that was the right bet, is a few. It's definitely not 93%. The rest have a reality, and then we call it a strategy. Understanding cloud initiatives and metrics to the right, you see cost savings is something that is top of mind for many customers, and I did an episode about that. I'm gonna link it. I think it's in this corner where YouTube links it if you want to take a look at it. And you also see that basically more than half of the people that, or companies and organizations that participated in this surveys, are focusing on cloud migration. We also have 59% or 60% that say cloud usage will exceed what they planned due to the pandemic. That I think is something we all have noticed in the stock prices of cloud companies that went through the roof, or in general tech companies. And then we see that one of the top challenges is to understand the dependencies in cloud migration. And 51% of enterprise are using MSPs, or basically managed service provider. I think this is a key metric, specifically if you are in the partner business. If you're a MSP, a SI, and all the other acronyms we have for it, then that's good news, showing you that 50% of enterprise, so companies larger than 1,000 people, actually leverage managed service providers. So you can add your value and on top of what the cloud infrastructure or the cloud provider offers. When we look at top challenges, as usual, it's security, spend, governance, and expertise. So skills continues to be a big challenge for companies. When we look at the adoption of configuration tools, that surprised me. It's Ansible is 43%, Terraform 42%, so almost a match, but there is a split where Ansible is more used by enterprise, Terraform more by SMBs. That came as a surprise. I definitely have way more touch point and questions around Terraform than I have seen around Ansible, but I guess it also depends if you talk more to the traditional Windows server versus open source infrastructure teams. Then when we look, they're struggling to handling the growing cloud spend. Again, we've seen through the pandemic, the adoption has exploded. So I could see that this is a challenge to kind of like try, how do you manage that? We also see that Respondent estimate organizations waste 30% of cloud spend. I think that number might be very well higher, but definitely, like, I absolutely see this. And then organizations aren't taking advantage of all the cloud providers offers and discount reserved instances and other things. Definitely true, because I can see it can be complicated and you need time to talk to the provider, but it's definitely something that you should look into. When we use of public cloud PaaS services rising, we see IoT services experience the fastest growth before containers and ML AI. I think that holds mainly also true with the pandemic, where all of a sudden cameras are being used to check for heat or check how many people you have, is social distancing in your facility or in your establishment kind of like followed or not. Private cloud adoption is mixed, with Azure Stack and AWS Outpost showing the most vigorous growth. I think Outpost as the new contender in the market is definitely, I could see why that is happening. Now here, when we look at cloud maturity and of companies saying they feel they're advanced because of a heavy use, intermediate, beginner, like this surprised me. This surprised me to see 50% because of how many said they have that skill gap challenge as being still one. I don't know how I would call myself mature if I still have, a big skill gap. So that number was a surprise to me. Then enterprise embrace multi-cloud. Again, I think embrace multi-cloud is true. It also a little bit depends how that is defined, because in theory, if you have Salesforce and Office 365, that's a multi-cloud right there. So you have SaaS offering is also cloud, even bigger than the traditional Azure AWS comparison that you see. Then applications are still often siloed in different clouds. That's what I meant when I referred to cloud, multi-cloud reality versus strategy, where you have one team buying one cloud provider, another team buying a different cloud provider platform, and then there you go. What did surprise me is to see that 36% say they have workload mobility between clouds. There I have some questions. I don't know what it means. I know how many bet on containers, but I learned even containers, the devil is in the detail. So it's not as easy as just moving it around. And it always depends on how big your application is. What's the database size in between. That still can, even if you have mobility, it can still be a 1 year, 2 year process to move from one cloud provider to the next one. Then DR failover between clouds, and then individual apps that span. So those numbers to me seemed high, but I have to take the word of the participants, but that's a surprise to me. This one, on the other hand, came as a negative surprise. So we saw they all have a multi-cloud strategy, or the vast majority, but then use of multi-cloud management tools, that's pretty low, given that some of these tools are actually free to use, and they have sometimes premium where it costs money, but a lot have a very low entrance barrier because maybe they don't have the time to do it. I don't know, but just when you see here, multi-cloud security tool. Azure has beautiful things there from Azure Security Center, Azure Sentinel that can help you to secure resources across any cloud wherever you have that. And given that security is a top concern, this adoption should be way higher. For me, as a customer of many other companies, I wish that higher, because how do you drive governance, privacy, security if you actually don't have a left to right view? I don't know how you could do that successfully. I guess it's just holding it together, but that's a surprise. Let's scroll down here. For example, SMB spend less than enterprise spend. That doesn't come as a surprise. I do believe they have much lower budgets, often not as big of a priority, as they're not necessarily focusing as hard. If you're a hairstylist or even a small car dealership, IT does not have the same value most of the time to you or your business, because whatever your core business is at heart, versus larger companies that have CTOs or a little bit more consultants that they can hire that help them in their digital transformation. And here, nearly half of enterprise workloads and data are in the public. That, for example, I don't believe. When I look at everything that is happening in the market, even still spend on Windows Server, etc., I doubt that it's half. There is massive, but because there is so much more data generated and new apps spun up, I don't think we're at 50%. I just don't. But let me know in the comments if you think actually it is that. Then SMBs are adopting public cloud faster than enterprise. Again, less complexity, oftentimes easier to make decisions versus bigger teams. So I think that is absolutely as expected. COVID will increase their cloud usage. Absolutely, we've seen that. Organizations are open to move sensitive. I think that myth of the cloud being less secure has changed heavily over the years. You still have people that feel better or have company internal policies that are not yet as open, but I'm just saying I was surprised, or not surprised in that sense, that this is actually happening. And here in the table you see it across the different one, what stays on premises versus what is going out. Then cloud migration challenges we mentioned, it's around the dependencies, recognizing those dependencies. Azure.com/migrate has a free tool that can help you, but I know there's other great tools out there as well that can help you to get that dependency map over your environment, so you can have a educated discussion with your teams at Microsoft, for example, on what to move, what the impact would be cost-wise as well as otherwise. Then migration challenges are greater for enterprises. Yes, it's way more complex. A lot of enterprise done a lot of merger and acquisitions. So it's not uncommon to have even more things coming together. It's a mess. It's a mess, simply put. But yeah, that definitely, I would see that. Here, that was a surprise that it is in the top cloud initiatives, but at the bottom with the expand use of cloud marketplace, I do hear a lot of questions of customers that actually want to purchase more and more as part of their existing, for example, Azure contracts or Azure subscriptions, because I think it makes procurement easier. I don't know how companies will deal with that, but we even have questions of, can we pay for all kinds of services with the Azure subscriptions that they have? Then top cloud initiatives, you see here from a growth, we have containers that jumped up heavily and implemented cloud first strategy. I think cloud first strategy there, I would say, might be even more than 50%. I see more and more companies really have that. They then still deal with the skills gap, but the first idea really is evaluate if there is a cloud service that can do what they need to get done. Here, metrics used to measure the cloud progress, and there is like value delivered to business units. I would wonder how that exactly looks like from a KPI thing, even the cost, efficiency and savings. I haven't seen a single customer, me personally, that really knows exactly what it costs him on premises, because most of the time when we talk to IT, all they know is their costs of IT. But if you're a big enterprise that has physical buildings, there is, usually facility management or real estate and facility management that has those costs associated in their budgets and not in your budget. So it's not as easy as, for example, in cloud to just see what the adoption is. Then, centralized approach for cloud, that surprises me. I think centralization is often hard to stay agile and fast, and the cloud is all about that. And as I mentioned with the multi-cloud reality, because one department buys something else, when you think about why did that even happen? For most enterprises, the central IT is under heavy cost pressure very often. It's considered a cost center. And then you have these business IT units, for example, they want to get something done and it takes too long to even get a VM, for example, from that central IT because you're maybe not prioritized how you felt you wanted to be prioritized, whatever your motivation is. So you took your credit card and you bought a cloud provider and started consuming cloud because it helped you to get your job done. And so if you too much centralize, it will be interesting to see how that plays out in the cloud world, given that is kind of like almost a decentralized thing to do. Role of central IT in cloud use, you see management, cost optimization is on the very top. Set policy for cloud use, select public cloud providers, things like that. So you see it goes there again almost into the centralization, or that is a key value provider for them for it. Then here, top cloud challenges. We talked about security, spend, governance, and then lack of resource and expertise. I think here, please note that even azure.com/learning there is so much free learning that you can do right now. And if you have time right now at home, it never has been a better time to take time to actually learn those things. And let's see, let's go through. Organizations waste significant cloud spend, absolutely agree, spot on. And I think you do have a lot of things that you can save, even just as shut down workloads after hours. I mean, given that we're now in the pandemic and not in the office, I hope many of those server systems have been shut down. But even when you're back in the office, like for example, the menu that shows, the TVs in the cantina that show what menu is available, whatever server that runs on, that one you can turn off, or printing services. There's a whole bunch of things you can actually do and then automate with policies, and definitely right size instances, leverage scale up, scale out technologies that the cloud providers offer to you so you don't over provision too much resources that cost you a lot of money. Container tools used year over year, huge jump in Azure container services that got me excited to see, up to 46%. Docker, Kubernetes in the absolute lead, followed by AWS. So lock-in concerns are not a large factor anymore for PaaS. That surprises me because I believe if you ever had an impact on lock-in, That's the hardest one. Let's say you use AI or cognitive services for your bot customer service and you change the cloud provider, that might impact, because each of those PaaS services usually has, similar to other things, like its unique strength and weaknesses where others are better. So I think that, I believe, is going to be harder to lift and shift between the different provider. Public cloud services used in the PaaS world, you see that database relational is on top, container services, data warehouse, a lot of that, including serverless, and then machine learning, kind of low in the list, but still great consumption. Top growing cloud PaaS services, I think we talked about this, given also with the pandemic how the needs shifted. This particular one, private cloud adoption, made me very excited. Microsoft Azure Stack. Biggest bar, send it to my boss. First question was like, which Azure Stack? If you don't know, we have Azure Stack Hub, Azure Stack HCI, and Azure Stack Hedge. And Azure Stack HCI being kind of like the general purpose version of it that is applicable to everybody. And I'm like, I don't know, it doesn't say, but made me excited. I take the win, specifically since I am the product marketing manager for Azure Stack Hub and Edge. Then let me go through here. I think that was it. I hope you liked this episode. If so, share it with your friends. Please let me know in the comments what you agree or disagree with, or what was a surprise for you, or where you have a complete different opinion. Also, always feel free to leave a comment if you want me to cover a specific topic or have some questions that you would like me to address. And with that, I wish you a great day, and DDave Kurt out.